Heya Cryptozens, it's 10 p.m. Pacific time. My name is Nikodemus, and welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter, where we take a nightly look at the crypto, NFT, and metaverse space. And keep in mind, nothing in this show should ever be considered financial advice. And it's 10 p.m. on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023. And we have an update from the Sue Davies story from last night, because CoinFlex is facing some criticism on social media. And so they're trying to explain their plans to create a new crypto exchange with Three Arrows Capital. Now, for those of you who didn't catch last night's episode, there was a presentation that was shared out on January 16th. And in this presentation, it showed that CoinFlex is working with the founders of 3AC to develop an exchange called GTX. This exchange would mainly deal in trading claims against bankrupt companies. Now, CoinFlex, they published a blog post to clear up any misunderstandings about the leaked information or about the proposed GTX exchange. They stated that they won't be using that name, as mentioned in the presentation, that it is only a temporary name. And I'm sure it's at least in part because some people in the community noticed that the name GTX was similar to FTX. CoinFlex stated that they would be rebranding this new entity and that CEO Mark Lamb and co-founder Sudhu Arugaman would still be part of it. CoinFlex also tried to explain why the new exchange is a good idea. They said it would benefit holders of claims and CoinFlex creditors alike. They added that the funds raised would be used for operational growth and to increase the equity value for CoinFlex creditors and shareholders. They also said that this new exchange would bring new volumes through crypto trading. They also said that they're committed to making sure that their decisions are in the best interest of CoinFlex creditors. CoinFlex said that they're considering adding other asset types to the new exchange, such as stocks and bonds. They also stated that they've been discussing with regulators and partners to bring regulated venues or exchanges for these assets. And they say they've made progress in the last few months. And so, CoinFlex said that the final decision on whether to create this new exchange would be made by a new board. This new board would include platform depositors, holders of Smart Bitcoin Cash or the Smart BCH Alliance, holders of Series B, and an independent director who will be chosen by platform depositors with the approval of Series B holders. They also said that management will not be voting on this decision. Now, some people had negative reactions to CoinFlex's plans to launch this new exchange with Three Arrows Capital because 3AC has gone bankrupt and the whereabouts of its founders are unknown. On January 16th, Nick Bugle, Ripple's former director of engineering, he criticized this new venture on Twitter. He called it a scam because of the involvement of the 3AC founders, and I can understand why. The CEO of Wintermute said that his company is going to cancel anyone who invests in this new exchange. A group of blockchain industry professionals spoke at the World Economic Forum. They said in the future, many things like carbon credits, houses, and government bonds will be bought and sold using blockchain technology. So some of the people in this group were Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Circle, the CEO of BitCub Capital, and the Finnish Minister of Transport and Communications, Timo Harakka. The discussion was called Tokenized Economies Coming Alive. Reportedly, Thailand's central bank is going to start using digital currency for wholesale market of Thai baht in the first 3 months of 2023. The government is also working with Monetary Authority of Singapore to send money between the countries using this new currency. And we also found out that the Thai government is making this new kind of license called an investment token license. And it will allow people to use blockchain technology to buy and sell things like government bonds, carbon credits, and foreign exchange. The Thai government believes this new way of buying and selling things will be important to the future digital economy. Now, Harakka said that people will have more control over their own data in the future. He mentioned that in 2014, an organization called MyData.org was formed in Finland to give people more control over their data. That said, not many people seem to be aware of it. Now, Harakka said that most people are more concerned about privacy instead of data ownership, which is why this kind of project hasn't gained much popularity yet. Someone at the event asked the panel what they think will be the next thing to be tokenized. At that point, Jeremy Allaire said that he believes many companies want to use blockchain technology to make loyalty points programs more versatile, and they also want to be able to interact with other companies' loyalty programs. So all of the panelists were pretty positive about the future of tokenized assets, but they agreed that the government needs to have clearer rules and that the technology needs to be more user-friendly in order for it to become reality. So also at Davos, the forum released a toolkit for decentralized autonomous organizations on January 17th. This toolkit was created with input from over 100 experts and aims to help DAOs develop effective strategies. It's 37 pages long and explains DAOs and related topics. It says that DAOs have the potential to address issues with traditional firms and create more equitable governance and operations. So this toolkit, it starts off with an explanation of what DAOs are. Then it covers how they operate, how they're governed, and their legal structure. The toolkit includes recommendations in these areas, which are presented in kind of a discussion format and are pretty broad in nature. For example, it suggests having local representatives or community managers with specialized knowledge of the DAO community get them to help with onboarding and other important processes. Now, this toolkit is clear and direct when making points. It emphasizes the importance of creating appropriate policies and legal frameworks for DAOs. It also mentions that creating these frameworks can be difficult, in part due to multiple proposals, such as the Crypto Asset Reporting Framework from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development versus the U.S. Infrastructure Bill, because that could lead to conflicting requirements for DAOs. And this isn't the first time that WEF has examined DAOs, and it's not the first toolkit that it's released. In June of 2021, WEF released a toolkit called Decentralized Finance Policymaker Toolkit, and also released a follow-up report in June of 2022. A court in the United Kingdom sentenced 4 men to 15 years in prison for fraudulently obtaining and laundering cryptocurrency worth $26 million from an Australian exchange. The Crown Prosecution Service announced the verdict last week. The men named Stephen William Boys, Kelly Caton, Jordan Kane Robinson, and James Austin Beddoes were found guilty of fraud, converting, and transferring criminal property at the Preston Crown Court in Lancashire. Now, 4 men were part of a conspiracy led by James Parker, who orchestrated the scheme from his home in Blackpool between October 2017 and January 2018. Parker took advantage of a loophole on a trading platform to obtain the funds. Now, Parker passed away in January of 2021, so he's not coming up on charges. The offenders used the internet to steal Bitcoin worth millions of pounds from the comfort of their own homes. This according to Jonathan Keller of the CPS. The data from Action Fraud shows that cryptocurrency fraud in the UK rose by over a third to over $270 million in 1 year. In January, a top crime agency in the UK advertised a job opening for a cryptocurrency investigator. The UK police now have experts on cryptocurrency stationed throughout the country. And sticking with the UK here for a bit because we have a CBDC alert, this time in the UK. So what happened is the governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, recently expressed some doubt about the need for a digital pound. Now, he said that there's already a system in place for settling money and that it's been upgraded. This conversation happened shortly after finance ministers from countries in the Eurozone supported further work on a digital euro. We talked about this the other night. Now, Bailey also said that there's no plans to stop using cash for retail transactions. He does not think that there's a need to change how people pay for things in stores at this time. He also added that it's important to understand the problem that's being solved before making changes. This follows new developments in the Eurozone regarding central bank digital currencies. Like I was saying, last night we brought you comments from Tony Yates. Now, he's a former advisor to the Bank of England. He was also speaking about the costs and risks of creating a CBDC. In fact, remember, he expressed a similar sentiment, that there's already a system in place for settling money and that we don't need to change anything. Now, Yates doesn't support a central bank digital currency either, so there's that. Now, he was saying that the risks and the costs of developing one just aren't worth it. And on the subject of central bank digital currencies, we've got Mikhail Fedorov. He's Ukraine's deputy prime minister and minister for digital transformation. He also wants to be the first person to use the country's new central bank digital currency and to receive his payment in that. He made his statement at the World Economic Forum and said that the new laws will make Ukraine the leading jurisdiction for crypto assets. He also mentioned a recent pilot of the CBDC in cooperation with Stellar. Ukraine is considering issuing digital currency similar to other countries worldwide. The European Union is expected to present their draft legislation for a digital euro this year. In Ukraine, legislation for virtual assets was passed last year. It's expected that the National Bank of Ukraine will come out with both a new tax law for crypto and a CBDC law sometime next year. Fedorov said that these laws will make Ukraine the best jurisdiction for crypto assets in the world, with a comprehensive approach to legalizing all digital assets. And crypto is something that Ukraine has some experience with lately. They raised $178 million in crypto for their military during the war. That allowed them to purchase equipment without breaking capital control laws. Fedorov said that the support of the crypto community helped them quickly acquire what they needed for their armed forces. Japanese financial regulators want global regulators to treat crypto like they do banking. They want stricter rules for the crypto industry. Muramu Yanase is the Deputy Director General of the Financial Services Agency's Strategy, Development, and Management Bureau, and he said that crypto needs to be controlled. Yanase said that to have effective regulation, traditional institutions should be regulated and supervised the same way as crypto. This was reported by Bloomberg on January 17th. Japan's financial watchdog made these comments after the collapse of FTX in November. This event shook the industry and made regulatory action much more urgent. He believes that the problem with crypto is not the technology itself, but with loose governance, weak internal controls, and a lack of regulation and supervision. He said that regulators in the United States and Europe should apply the same rules to crypto exchanges as they do to banks and brokerages. This is different from some regulators here in the U.S. The Financial Stability Board is a global organization that regulates the digital asset industry, and they've received recommendations. Yanase also said that countries should strongly require consumer protection measures from crypto exchanges. He also said that crypto brokerages should have strong governance, internal controls, auditing, disclosure, and measures to prevent money laundering. He confirmed that the Japanese subsidiary of FTX will allow withdrawals to start again in February. He also said that the agency has been in communication with FTX Japan and that the client's assets have been separated from the subsidiary. The U.S. court overseeing the FTX case approved the sale of FTX Japan and other subsidiaries. 41 parties were interested in buying the Japanese branch of the exchange. Monex CEO Oki Matsumoto said on January 16th that Monex was interested in buying FTX Japan because it would be good for Monex's financial services to have less competition in the local market. The SEC in Thailand is making new rules to protect people who invest in crypto. They want companies that store cryptocurrency for other people to have a special system to make sure it's safe. And so these rules have three main parts. Companies must have a plan to keep digital wallets and private keys safe. Companies must tell the SEC about their plan and make sure they follow it. And companies must have a plan for what to do if something unexpected happens that could affect how they keep digital wallets and private keys safe. The SEC said that companies must have a plan and make sure it works. They must also choose someone to be responsible and tell the SEC if something happens. They also have to check their system to make sure it's safe and investigate if something affects the safety of those assets. The new rules for cryptocurrency storage companies started on January 16, 2023. These companies have 6 months to follow the rules. The SEC in Thailand is making these rules stricter because some companies have failed in the past. Recently, the SEC started investigating a local cryptocurrency exchange called ZipMex for providing services without permission. Meanwhile, in the EU, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation legislation has been delayed. The final vote will take place in April. The reason for the delay is technical. It's related to translating issues. The EU requires all legal acts, including MiCA, to be translated into all 24 official languages. This may cause further delay for the licensing of crypto companies in the EU. In November of 2022, the vote for MiCA was delayed until February of this year. Technical issues in the lengthy text may also delay the start of the licensing regime, which is expected to begin in 2024. Now see, EU officials are saying that MiCA would have prevented the collapse of FTX, but there's a problem with that. The legislation still has a loophole where companies like FTX, based outside of the EU, could still serve EU clients with no extra regulation. European legislators have agreed on the law in principle, but it needs to be approved by lawmakers and national governments. The law will apply to all 27 member nations, but implementation and interpretation will depend on national regulators. MiCA creates a common licensing regime for crypto wallets and exchanges to operate across the EU. This will serve the EU population of around 450 million people. It's considered a standard setter that may also influence rulemaking in other countries. And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. We'll see you tomorrow night.